Engineer Nixon, for your answer. We'd like to introduce our final panelists in the interest of time. Thank you so much, QS Jackie Lekishion, for joining us for this webinar as a panelist. So QS Jackie is a quantity surveyor working at the National Construction Authority as a senior training and capacity building officer. She's a council member at the Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya, and also she's a stakeholder in the project of strengthening safety skills in capacity in Kenya's engineering construction. That is the project that engineer Professor Augustine Makoha is the PI. So thank you so much, Jackie. We'd like you to tackle the question of duty holders, and an example of duty holders are the employers, architects, and so on. So the question we'd like you to delve into is what is the role of key duty holders in a construction project, that is engineers, architects, planners, QS, etc., in ensuring a positive safety culture in construction, and who is responsible for what, and how are incidences and casualties that are recorded and reported and used to enhance safety. Welcome, QS Jacqueline, and we'd like you to tackle this question in 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Grace. I hope my audio is clear. Maybe
yes, you're very clear.
Thank you so much. And I'll tackle the issue of duty holders. And I'll begin with in any construction project, everyone has a role to play. And on matter safety, it touches on everyone on site. So I'll begin with an architect who integrates issues to do with safety into the designs, and he ensures these designs comply with the building codes. And currently we have the 2024 building code, and they work closely with the engineers, the quantity surveyors, and every other consultant in construction site. And they also supervise the contractors who execute the project on the behalf of everyone. So under the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, specifically the Building and Associated Civil Engineering Standard of 2007, the safety and health is emphasized on section 20. And on this section, it mandates the main contractor to ensure that the site and everyone who's authorized to visit the site is safe. And the standard also mandates specific safety measures to keep the site in good condition, like specifically to keep it off any hazards or to mitigate any risks. So I'll tackle the second duty holder, who's the engineer. And in this case, I'll not specify which specific engineering background, because there are very many. So I'll just give it a summary. So the engineer will design for safety, and then they will ensure that the structural systems on site are adhering to the practices and the codes, and they also adhere to the building code as well, and they implement safety protocols during the design as well as during supervision. And an engineer is allowed to stop works in case there are issues to do with the structural unsafeness, and also to allow a contractor to mitigate any risks. So I'll look at the third duty holder, who's a quantity surveyor. Actually, as I look at each and every entity, you will realize that some of the roles they play cut across. So for a quantity surveyor, he will manage the project cost, and will ensure that issues to do with safety measures are incorporated in the bills during during project design phase. as well as during the construction phase. So let me just summarily look at other duty holders who are planners during planning stage. We have the planners. We also have the regulators. My predecessor panelists have talked so much about DOSH. There is also NCA where I work, that is National Construction Authority. We have EBK, we have BORAX. All these regulators will enforce to ensure that safety is implemented in the construction sites, and they will also issue stop orders in case there are matters to do with safety that have not been adhered to in the construction sites. So I'll also look at safety officer, and in Kenya, we have the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health, who will register the safety advisors. Just as the other panelists mentioned, in Kenya, you'll realize that the qualification stipulated by DOSH for a safety officer seem to be looking at a graduate from the university, and also goes further to even recommend master's degree. And they also recognize NEBOSH certificate as a qualification, which in the construction site may seem a bit too high for the typical construction workers who coming from a research background. You'll realize that majority of these workers do not have a formal training, and even from NCA, where we now register these safety officers, you will realize that a majority only undertake short courses, maybe 2 weeks, and maybe this is some of the challenges that even when Professor was discussing, seem to hamper the construction industry, because you'll realize someone who has just done a 2 weeks course may not be able to really mitigate some level of risks. So I can just finish there due to time.
Thank you so much, QS Jackie, for speaking within the time provided, and for the answer that you provided for the question. I believe we have been typing all the questions that we have to the panelists and to Prof on the chat, and also on the Q&A tab. We are going to move to a Q&A session right now, and I want to introduce and invite my colleague Anzette to take over the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, and thank you everyone for the questions that you've been sharing. While we've been speaking, the Prof and the other panelists have been answering the questions. We have run out of time for a long Q&A discussion, but I will share the one question that's not been answered, and then Prof. Augustine will share an email address in the chat for any follow-up questions. The one question that has not been answered has been referred to Jacqueline from the NCA. Jacqueline, the question is, what is being done to ensure sustainable signage given the challenge of vandalism? The question comes from David. Jacqueline, if you're able to very briefly answer that question for us, and then we will move over to our closing. What is being done to ensure sustainable signage given the challenge of vandalism?
Thank you for that question. I'd like to, I don't know if it can be clarified, signage in terms of the safety signages and the vandalism in construction. Okay. First and foremost, vandalism, I believe, is more or less a crime. Actually, not more or less a crime, it is a crime. And for the safety signages, the material that is used nowadays is more sustainable, such that even if someone is to use, or rather to reuse, they may not be able to really get a lot from it. I know previously we were using steel, and since steel is very marketable, that made it an interest to those people who may want to smelt it and use it further. But nowadays, there is the use of other materials that are more sustainable and more that cannot be taken to any other site. So even the use of stickers for signages, for example, if you want to put a sign for exit, instead of putting an item that can be picked and collected, you can just put a sticker to just show the same sign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, QS, for that answer and for the excellent presentations from all panelists. We thank everyone for attending the webinar. And at this point, I'd like to ask if there are further questions, they can be directed to Professor Makoha. His email is on the chat. It's on the chat. In case you don't see it, you can let us know. I'd like to hand over to Coco to take us through the closing of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I just want to thank all of our attendees for joining this really important conversation. Thank you so much to all the excellent panelists. Thank you to Grace, our fantastic moderator, and Augustine for his really interesting presentation. This has been a really wide-ranging discussion. I'm sorry we ran out of time for all the questions, but please do get in touch with Augustine. His email is in the chat. And if you'd like to find out more information about the Skills for Safety programme, we've also put the link in the chat there. So thank you so much to everyone for your time, and we really hope you enjoyed this webinar, and we look forward to engaging with you again soon.